Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the second video in a series that I'm doing basically about dealing with a bully boss or a narcissistic boss. This video specifically, I'm going to talk about how to deal with your boss face to face when they are actually seeking out a confrontation with you, or when you're cornered by a narcissist at work. So you pretty much know when you're about to be targeted by a bully boss or a narcissist at work. There might be things leading up to a meeting, or there might be an issue with a project where you're having difficulties and your boss is quote unquote mad at you and you're expecting some kind of confrontation, and you usually know this is coming. My advice is to prepare for a confrontation by memorizing a few responses that you don't need to think too much about. This is going to help you when you are confronted by a narcissist at work or a bully boss, because this way you don't have to think on your feet. You're not going to be able to really fight back fairly with a narcissist. They're going to be having the upper hand in these kind of situations. They run off of conflict. You're going to be either exhausted or you're going to be hyper anxious, and you're not really going to be able to defend yourself. But if you do have a few memorized responses, you'll at least be able to sort of protect yourself in these situations. So an example of some things that I recommend, number one, you could say, no, I do not feel comfortable with that. Number two, you could say, I completed the project on this date. Number three, I don't understand what you mean. So the first one, and these are going to all be tailored to your life. Like I said, the first one is something that I would use in past situations. No, I don't feel comfortable with that. That's going to be when your narcissist may be attempting to force you to take on a task that you don't feel comfortable with, something that's out of your job description, something that could cause you personal harm or damage to your credentials, or they might even ask you to do something illegal. It's been known to happen. The second phrase, I completed the project on this date, and then give the date. That's when you are cornered by a narcissist and they're accusing you maybe of not completing your work, or they might ask you repeatedly why something didn't get completed. That's something I've also experienced. Just repeat over and over what you've actually completed on the project, and just stick to your phrase. Don't waver when because they're going to try to get you to admit mistakes maybe that you've made, and they want to break you down basically. The third phrase is, I don't understand what you mean. We all know narcissists. We all know that they come straight out of who knows where with all these accusations that they have. They might accuse you of the most ridiculous things. They might accuse you of using all the toilet paper in the bathroom. They might accuse you just of the strangest things. And if you just say, I don't understand what you mean, just repeat that over and over, and don't admit anything that you may have done. You probably didn't do anything anyway, but don't fault yourself for anything. Just repeat over and over. Just throw it back on them. They're the odd one here. You don't understand because they're not making sense. Another thing that a narcissistic boss will do is they will accuse you of something randomly, or they'll have you in their clutches, they'll have you in their office, and they'll say something, and then they will insert a very long, awkward pause and just stare at you. And this is because silence typically makes people uncomfortable, and they're hoping that you will just blurt something out and incriminate yourself. They want to either make you uncomfortable or make you incriminate yourself. It's a tactic that they use. When they do this narcissistic stare, just hold firm and just sit there and stare back at them. So remember that you're going to want to remain calm, or you're going to want to appear to be calm at least in the confrontation, and you're going to just continue to repeat your statements that you've chosen. This is so you don't have to sit there and think and come up with something and stumble over your words. You're going to have these phrases that you have memorized. You're going to write them down. You write them on your hand if you have to. Practice them. And then that way you can at least use them as a shield against your narcissist. And you can just keep repeating them over and over. And the narcissist isn't going to get anything out of you. There's also a technique called respond, don't react. And this is by Ross Rosenberg. He came up with this. I believe he's a psychologist or psychiatrist. He has tons of videos here on YouTube about narcissists. So this technique is basically where you're going to do a healthy disassociation in a confrontation with a narcissist. You're going to basically just observe them as if they're an alien from another planet. So something you might say if you use this technique is, number one, I can tell you're upset. Are you feeling okay? With this phrase, you're going to really draw attention back to the narcissist. You're going to point out how upset they are, and they will get very amped up in conversations with you. You're not going to make it about you. You're not going to get upset yourself. You're going to point out how upset they are, and then that's what you're going to focus the conversation on. The second one, if you're confronted by a narcissist in public, which they like to do in the middle of a huge office, they might lumber over to you and accuse you of something and point their finger in your face. And so what you're going to do is just simply stop and look at them and say, can we discuss this in private? This might seem like a small thing. This might come naturally to some people, but there are actually people that would just bow their head and take the abuse right there in front of everybody. So some people could actually benefit from this statement. If you you're stopping the conflict, you're stopping what they're trying to do, and you're asking them to treat you like a human being and go somewhere in private. You're standing up for your own personal rights here. And nobody can fault you for wanting to take the conversation into a private room. There are people that will just stand there and go off on you in front of everybody. And honestly, that's going to make them look worse. These techniques are going to throw the narcissist off because it's not what they expect. They just expect you to humble down to them. So by using these phrases and techniques, you're going to really throw the narcissist off their game. They're not going to expect it. They're going to do things to make themselves look bad. They're going to lose control, basically. If nothing else, in a one-on-one with a narcissist, just agree with them. Just agree to their demands and orders. If you can't protect yourself right then, just say, okay, sure, absolutely, I'll do that. And then what you do on your own time, that's your business. Just tell them what they want to hear and then do what you want to do. In the end, they can't make you do anything. This is a work. You're not a slave. This is a work situation. They're not going to take you outside and beat you in the parking lot, hopefully. They're basically powerless over you, and this is what you need to realize. So if you are one-on-one with them, just agree, if nothing else. The point is just to get you out of the conflict safely, is just to get you away from the narcissist, to minimize any damage in the actual battle, and just to get you away from them. What they're expecting you to do is they want you to jade. This is a phrase thrown around a lot, and basically what jade is justify, argue, defend, and explain. Don't do that. Don't jade in a conversation. That's what they want. Don't justify anything that you've ever done. Don't argue. Don't say, no, that's not right. Even though you might want to stand up for yourself, like I said, you're not going to be able to go toe to toe with a narcissist. So don't defend yourself and don't explain. They don't deserve to have open, honest, direct communication. They're trying to harm you in these confrontations. So you need to just protect yourself and get away from them. So not every meeting is going to be a conflict or a confrontation with a narcissist. Some meetings are going to be so that they can train you on new tasks or give you extra things to do, or give you very specific, convoluted directions on how to do something. They are going to go to great lengths and great detail telling you how to do something. And they're going to make it confusing, and this is so that they can purposely confuse you and basically going to set you up to fail in many cases. So say, for example, you have a meeting with a narcissist and they tell you that from now on you are supposed to call every single person on a list that they give you every single day, and then you're going to document the dates and times that you try to call them, and you're supposed to call them 3 times before you move on to the next person. Something like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to email the narcissist what you understand from the meeting. Written communication is your friend. You're going to create a record of exactly what they told you. Basically, you're going to sit down at your computer and you're going to say, per our meeting today, I've been given this new task of calling 1,000 people a day, and I understand that I'm supposed to call each person 3 times a day. I'm supposed to call every single person every day, etc., etc. You're going to go over verbatim exactly what they told you. So you're going to establish a written record of the meeting with a narcissist. This way, what is said in the meeting can't be disputed by the narcissist later on. They, for example, they can't go back and say, well, they never actually said that, or they never actually gave you that task. So you're establishing a written record here that you can go back to later. So it's even better if you can get them to reply to the email. Oftentimes they will reply because they just love to go back and forth with you. So then that way they're basically signing off on what they told you. And that way, they're basically agreeing to it. So they can't go back later and say that they didn't tell you to do that. Personally, I recommend keeping a binder of everything like this. Print the email out, put it in a binder, and just act like you just really need your notes to refer back to. And then this way you can actually point to certain dates and certain meetings and certain times. And this is going to help you in the long run. So if you're flat out just being harassed or verbally abused or otherwise at work, you need to start documenting the abuse. So certain ways you can document abuse is you can record the abuse on your phone, record audio. I don't recommend anybody do anything illegal. In certain states, it is legal to record 2-party conversations if you're one of the parties in the conversation. Certain other states, it is not legal unless both parties give consent. It's very important to report the abuse in writing. This is when you're being harassed at work. You want to create a written record of the harassment. You want to tell your boss in writing that you want the abuse to stop, the harassment to stop. You're going to want to state exactly what's happening to you, exactly what's being said, who is saying it. Say that you want it to end. Say that you feel that it's harassment. Say it's repeated. Say you feel that there's a hostile work environment. This is very useful because they cannot say that you never came to them with these allegations. A written complaint almost forces them to actually comply and do something about it. It's helpful to also review your handbook. Companies often have internal policies against harassment. Often they violate their own policies. The handbook is just basically fluff, but it is a useful tool, especially when they are violating their own policies. So when managers are hired, they're agreeing to whatever's in the handbook. They're agreeing not to harass people. They've signed paperwork to abide by codes of conduct. This is something that most people don't think about. They just take the abuse. But if you think about it, these psychopaths have agreed to not harass people. They've agreed to have morals. They've agreed to treat people fairly and respect and equally. And many times they don't actually do this. So you need to hold them accountable for this. If your boss happens to target you via email, this is a really easy one. Just ignore the emails. Just gray rock the emails. Emails are easy to ignore. It's going to be easy here for you to play stupid. Pretend to be so busy that you didn't even see the email. Again, I've fallen victim to this myself. Responding to emails, especially pointed emails, can be easily used against you. It's easier to say something that you might regret saying. It's easier to get upset if you're being accused of something via email. It's easy for your words to be taken out of context. So it's just not a good idea for them to have a written record of anything that you say. What I mean here is it's not a good idea to respond with something that may be better said in a phone call, especially if you are upset or you're going to respond in an upset way or a defensive way. Sometimes you might find yourself in a very heated meeting with a narcissist. In this case, if your narcissist has you cornered in an office, just remember that you can always get up and walk out if you're not comfortable. When your narcissist really loses it, they will start yelling at you. They will start accusing you of things. Their face may get red. They may pound their fist on the desk. They may be absolutely trying to force you into something that you don't want to do. For example, they may want to write you up for something, and they may be trying to force you to sign the write-up. Just remember, you never have to sign anything you don't agree with, and you're free to leave. You're not going to be held against your will here. Get up and walk out. Just simply say that you are not comfortable and that the meeting is over for you and leave. And trust me, they will be dumbfounded when you do this. They won't know what to do because they're not expecting it. They're just expecting you to break down crying. If you have to break down crying, go to a private bathroom and do it, or go outside to your car and do it. No one is going to actually blame you for disappearing from work if you are in a heated argument with your boss. I should say a reasonable person wouldn't blame you for getting up and walking out. A narcissist might blame you. But who cares? You need to stop the confrontation. You need to protect yourself. You need to end what is happening, and when you do this, you take the power. And you're not doing it in an aggressive way, you're doing it in a defensive way, so you can really win this way. Just remember, I'm here to validate that you do not have to take abuse for a paycheck. You are a human being first and foremost before a job. You have human rights to not be abused or humiliated at work. Just remember also that no one has the right to put their hands on you at work, no matter how young you are. No one has the right to grab you and drag you into a room. No one has the right to threaten you at work or make you feel unsafe. So this is when it does help to have audio recordings or even video recordings. In this case, you could even say, "Stop, get your hands off me." You could say, "I don't feel safe right now," and leave the situation. Basically, just, again, like I've said, get yourself out of the situation, stop what is happening, and your phone is going to be your best protection because these things are illegal, and certainly they can't happen to you at work. And now you can file a police report if you have to. Certainly only very extreme cases will require you to get the police involved, but it does happen. Not every situation is going to need police intervention, but definitely if you feel like you've been assaulted or if you feel like your personal safety is at risk here, then definitely stop even worrying about the job aspect and definitely go to the police if you've been hit at work or assaulted, or if you've had someone damage your personal property, or if you feel like your safety has been threatened and you're scared. In most cases, your written records are really going to be all that you need. It's never going to get that bad. In most, worst case scenario is going to be that you're either going to be so miserable that you have to quit or you're going to get fired. And then if you have all of your written records of your documented harassment, it can help you get unemployment. So just have everything organized in a binder. Write down the most minuscule things. Make a copy even of the handbook and keep it. This will all help you in the end. So thank you for listening. This has been a pretty long video. Bear with me. I'm still getting used to making videos. So hopefully my quality of my videos can only improve from here.